Okay. And call this meeting of the Oskaloosa City Council to order. Today is September 2nd, 2014. We'll start with the invocation by Pastor Steve Cox, Bethel Baptist Church.
Thank you for the privilege of allowing me to come and be a part of your meeting tonight.
Thank you for
Let's look to the Lord. Father, we thank you for the many areas of responsibility and service that you give. We know, according to the scriptures, that there is no one in leadership that has not been put there by you, for you say that you raise one up and put another one down. So, Father, with that in mind, we ask for wisdom tonight for those that are here making decisions. We just ask for your hand upon them, lead them, guide them, and direct them. We ask all of this now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Charlie, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Tom, afterwards, I want to get the...
Okay. Roll call, please.
First aid. Wally.
Here.
Yates.
Here.
Caligari.
Here.
Jimenez.
Here.
Moore.
Okay, thank you. Moving into the agenda, the first item is the community comments. This item is reserved for comments from the community for concerns whether or not they're on the current agenda. The community is encouraged to come and speak before the mayor and the city council, asked to keep statements brief. Time shall be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Any questions are to be asked of the city staff, council members, or the mayor prior to speaking to the full council, so that way the concerns can be properly researched and answered, perhaps away from the meeting. Comments are to be directed to the mayor and city council only. Is there anyone here who would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item number 5 is the consent agenda. Routine things for the most part, reports and minutes from various boards and commissions, various things considered routine by the council. And I would note that there is an appointment in there to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and so let's see. So I have those 2 appointments listed on the agenda. And I believe we also have the dates of their terms on there as well. So with that, do we have a motion for approval? Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Wally. Yates.
Yes.
Caligari.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Van Zetten. First aid.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item 6, this is the announcement of various vacancies that we have on boards and commissions. First is the Building Code Board of Appeals. There are 2 vacancies to fill upon appointment. They serve at the pleasure of the mayor. This is a 5-member board that meets as needed, and currently we have 3 males serving with 2 vacancies. The Planning and Zoning Commission, 4 vacancies to fill. 2 of them were just filled tonight upon appointment for unexpired terms. 2 in April of 2015 and 2 that end in April of 2017. It's a 7-member board that typically meets the second Monday of the month as needed. Currently we have 3 males and no females serving. The Board of Adjustment, we have 1 vacancy to fill upon appointment for an unexpired term ending on April 30th, 2017. This is a 5-member board, typically meets as needed on the 4th Tuesday of the month. 4 males currently serving, 1 vacancy. The Water Board, we have 1 vacancy to fill upon appointment for an unexpired term ending on June 30 of 2018. This is a 3-member board that typically meets on the first Monday after the 10th of the month. So 2 males are currently serving with 1 vacancy. And finally, the Mahaska County Solid Waste Management Commission and Ad Hoc Recycling Committee, 5 vacancies to fill. And they serve 1-year terms from January 1, 2015 to December 31st of 2015. 2 members of the commission also serve on the Ad Hoc Recycling Committee, and it's a 5-member board that typically meets once a month. 3 males and 1 female currently serving, 1 vacancy. Item number 7, moving into the regular agenda, public hearings. First item is to consider a resolution levying a special assessment against private property for the cleanup of property located at 610 C Avenue East here in Oskaloosa, in accordance with Section 8.08.080 of the City Code. And so this is the time for the public hearing, levying a special assessment against property owned by Daniel and Jody L. Gundrum, located at 601 C Avenue East. It's for city cleanup of their property. The certified notice of the hearing was sent to the property owner, and notice of the hearing was published in the Oskaloosa Herald prior to this hearing date. So I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to that?
Mayor, the property owner came in last Friday and paid the amount due, so the public hearing is no longer necessary.
With that, I will close the public hearing. And no action required, okay? So we'll move on. Item B. This is a public hearing to consider a resolution levying a special assessment against private property, cutting and removal of weeds by the city of Oskaloosa in accordance with Title 8, Chapter 8.20 of the City Code. This is the time for a public hearing levying a special assessment against private property for weed cutting. We have an exhibit of one property owner who is listed there. Certified notice was sent to the property owner, and notice was published in the Oskaloosa Herald. So I'll open the public hearing at this time. Does anyone care to speak to it? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on the assessing of the private property for weed cutting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Yates,
Yes.
Calogeri,
Yes.
Jimenez,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Van Zetten,
Yes.
Versteg,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item C, this is to consider an ordinance to vacate and sell 120-foot by 16.5 foot of the north-south alley and 51.5 by 16.5 feet of the east-west alley that are adjacent to 701 High Avenue West. This is the first reading. Robert Werson, owner of 701 High Avenue West, has requested that the portion of the north-south alley and a portion of the east-west alley adjacent to his property be vacated. The owner wants to combine all of these parcels for use as a single commercial land parcel. The city conducted a survey of households with direct access to the alleys. Of the residents responded, total of 3, all of them wanted the alley to be vacated. This alley also contains Oskaloosa Water and CenturyLink utility infrastructure, so easement rights will need to be retained for access to the above-mentioned utilities. Planning and Zoning Commission considered this item at their August 11, 2014 meeting, recommending by a vote of 4-0, 4 yes, no's, and 0 no's, that the City Council approve the alley vacation request. The applicant has recently reduced the extent of the east-west alley portion from 56.5 by 16.5 to 51.5 by 16.5 section. So that 5-foot difference will expedite the sale of the property because the proposed alley vacate does not adjoin other neighboring properties. So I'll open the hearing at this time. Does anyone care to speak on this? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion to vacate and sell these alleys?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Calogeri,
Yes.
Jimenez,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Van Zetten,
Yes.
Versteg,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Next item is another public hearing. We're going to be considering an ordinance to vacate and sell 60-foot by 16.5 feet of the east-west alley adjacent to 701 2nd Avenue East. Frank Landon, owner of 701 2nd Avenue East, has requested that the portion of the east-west alley adjacent to his property be vacated. The applicant intends to store a utility trailer in the alley. The city conducted a survey of households with direct access to this alley. Of the residents that responded, total of 5, 3 of them want the alley to be vacated and 2 do not want the alley to be vacated. The property owners at 707 and 709 2nd Avenue East opposed the alley vacate, stating concerns with parking, traffic flow obstruction, and depreciation of property values. And we have that listed on survey responses in the agenda. The alley also contains Oskaloosa Sanitary Sewer, CenturyLink, MCG, and Mid-American Energy utility infrastructure. So therefore, easement rights will need to be retained for access to the above-mentioned utilities. Planning and Zoning considered this item at their August 11 meeting and recommended by a vote of 3-1, that was 3 yes and 1 no, that the City Council approve the alley vacation request. Commission member Wendell Campbell opposed the alley vacate, and so I'll go ahead and open the public hearing at this time if anyone would like to speak. Name and address, please.
My name is Jenny Foster, and I live at 2288 Lynn Avenue.
And I'm representing the estate of Charles and Dorothy Perdue. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today. And I am representing the estate of Charles and Dorothy Perdue, and I'm the executor of their will and estate, and my brother and I. And we're representing the people that live in the houses at 707 and 709 2nd Avenue East. There are 4 tenants in one house. There are 2 in the house behind 707, so that's 6 apartments there, and then 709 is a single house. And so we're talking 7 families here. Typically what has happened is they enter from 2nd Avenue East going north, they park along their properties there, either along 707 or along 709. And when they exit, they go to the north, and the wear pattern shows in the alley how many of them turn to the west and exit that direction. My concerns are that this is, if that alley were to be closed, which is the intended purpose if there's a sale, that they will all go to the east. Or they will decide this is too much hassle, I'm not going to do that, and they'll start backing. And I think that that's a dangerous thing anytime we start backing out of properties. There is, at 709, there's a garage right there on the corner there. And that's a very tight corner. It's much easier to turn to the west because you're the driver. You can see where you're going. When you're making that turn to the east, it's kind of hard because, you know, you're not right there. I'm a little concerned about that building. I'm concerned about the fence up ahead of it as well, even though that fence is not mine. But it's a tight corner. And then, of course, I'm concerned that eventually the other end of the alley will get sold. And, you know, people have said, well, that doesn't happen. But, you know, we can never say what another board's going to do later on. And so I'm just concerned about that. And I just think that, you know, we've had a lot of properties over the years. Our family has. We've tried to really take care of our tenants. I think that asking them to park in the street or asking them to do something that I perceive as being a dangerous turn to get out of this alley, I'm concerned about that. I also feel that alleys are there for a reason when they are open, and it sounds to me like there's a lot of utilities in that alley that would be good for access. I know personally I might like to have that alley there to dump gravel and things like that, and just make it easier to take care of our property. And I guess that's all I have, so thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to help.
Yes, sir.
Mike Christensen, live in Ankeny, Iowa right now. I was a resident in Oskaloosa here a few years ago when we purchased the property, my wife and I, at 702 1st Avenue East. We're on the northwest corner of 2nd and 6th. Frank Glanville called me in advance of the planning and zoning meeting to let me know that he had put in an application to have this closed. We have that property as an income property there, and on the south edge of the property, adjacent to that alley, is a 2-car garage for our tenants in that property. We have to have access to that garage through that street entrance there. I didn't get my card in time that Mr. Paul had sent out to be a part of the survey. But I also expressed an opinion that wasn't strong one way or the other because I hadn't talked to anybody but Frank and Linda Glanville. I have talked to some professionals to advise me if the alley is closed, we would feel we need to purchase our half to make sure we have access to that garage. I know that easements are an option, but again, the professionals that I've spoken with said easement is just a little softer position to be in than to own it when we have to have access to that for our garage. So what hasn't been clear to me, I was at the planning and zoning meeting. I didn't ask this question, but at some point I'd like it clarified what it's going to cost me if I have to buy the 8 1/4 by 60 section to protect our access to the garage. And I don't know if that can be answered tonight, but at some point in the process, I haven't been given that number. Frank Glanville said he understood a number, but until it comes to me from an official source. Is that something you can answer now, or is that part?
I'm sure we can.
Yeah, it's 50 cents per square foot, and I think the total was $4.95. So.
Right. So you pay half of the $247.50.
$47.50.
Oh, that's my number? Or
that's your share.
That's my number?
If the council approves the alley vacate,
yeah.
you get an opportunity to,
Are there any additional fees that go with rewriting the property description on this with abstracting or anything like that, or is that my final cost?
that is your final cost as far as the city is concerned.
Claim deed,
Right, we finish that, so city does the quitclaim deed.
There would be a nominal charge for recording the deed, but that, of course, would not be expensive.
That would be my cost?
Yes.
Okay. And just the clarification then, I've been over there with Frank, and we've measured the 8 1/4 feet to just visually make sure we can get in and out of that access, although Frank says that his plans for that piece of property don't include any structure up that far west that would deter. I'm assuming that this line starts, if I can describe it to me, on the east edge of that sidewalk that runs there. That's where the alley starts. And from the east edge of the sidewalk west remains public. Am I asking that question properly? Where does that line start that begins the alley that you're letting go of?
Generally east of the sidewalk.
There is, yeah, the sidewalk runs through there, there's an access there. And I'm assuming that this starts east of the sidewalk line, the east line of the sidewalk.
I am too.
Which again affects significantly what our access is. So,
Can I ask a couple quick questions here?
to me?
Yeah.
Yes,
You talked with Frank, right?
yes.
This looks like a pretty heavily traveled alley. Am I?
Well, I don't reside there again, so I can't speak to that specifically.
So let me ask you the easy question. What's the problem? Why does he want to own it?
He was looking for some, I'm speaking to him on conversations with him. He, initially, when he called me before the planning and zoning, he was hoping to get the whole alley, and he might have put up a storage building or something in there to the north of his garage. Given the fact that I've expressed to him that I would have reservations about that and I would probably buy the half that we have access to, then he has restated his plan to simply have a place to park a trailer that he owns, that he wants to park on the north side of his garage. It would be south of our garage. So as the Glanvilles and the Christiansens sit here with this, I think it's something we can all work out. In all honesty, I would rather not have to spend the $200 and some that you've said, because everything's just fine with me. But I'd like to try and be a good neighbor if I can too. I'm not looking to be contentious on any of this. There's no reason to be contentious as long as I learned at the planning and zoning we have a right to purchase the half to us, and so we'll exercise that right. And that would be the most, I guess that would be the most disagreeable I would be, given the fact that I know initially Frank was hoping to get the whole thing, but I don't think it's good business on my part, according to some of the professionals I've talked to. And I'll be honest with you, I'm preparing to list that property and possibly have it change hands within the next few months. And I think new owners would want to be assured what the property lines were, and most critically, the access to the two-car garage, it says.
But I want to make sure I'm clear. Your preference would be to do nothing and just keep
Yes.
things the way they are?
Yes, because I'd rather not spend the $220-something if I don't have, everything's fine with us. I'm not looking to spend whatever money. We don't need to extend the property. I've looked at the property sight lines. The south side of our garage sits right on the alley to the east end of the lot line. But we have no, this would have not come up. I'm just trying to participate in it as positively as I can. And I guess if you approve the closing, we will purchase our half. So that's what we would do.
I've got one quick question. The alley vacation request, you're the owner of the property, correct?
On the north side,
702.
702.
yeah.
But the request is done by Frank. He's not the property owner.
He is adjoining on the south side.
of the alley. He owns the other side.
His property adjoins on the south side, ours adjoins on the north side.
Gotcha.
His access, he would still want access through that current alley to get his trailer in and out.
Yeah.
And it appears 8 1/4 foot would give, if we came into any technical issues, if new owners came into a situation with that garage there, it appears that the 8.5 foot would get us in and out for both vehicles there. So
Got it.
that's it.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would care to speak at this time? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion regarding the vacation and selling of the east-west alley adjacent to 701 2nd Avenue East? You can either for or against.
If there's no motion, it dies.
Yeah, we can just let it die
Just
right
let it
now.
die.
Okay.
Just let it die.
Okay. So it dies for no motion. Going on to item E. Consider an ordinance amending the city's electrical franchise agreement with Mid-American Energy, increasing the existing electric franchise fees by an additional 2% of the company's gross revenues for all service classes, and amending the city's revenue purpose statement for the use of franchise fee revenues. This is the second reading. The current 25-year electric franchise agreement with Mid-American Energy was approved and renewed by the City Council in 2011, and at the time of renewal, a significant change was made to the franchise fee amount charged on the company's gross revenues. The change was an increase from 0.2% for all classes to 3.0% for all classes except industrial, which is increased from 0.2% to 1.5%. The increase in revenues was specifically earmarked for infrastructure improvements as specified in the Iowa Code, and the increase in the franchise fee was completed as an alternative to issuing debt paid by property taxes for needed infrastructural improvements, namely roads. This decision resulted in a lower tax burden for the average property owner in the city. City Council is now considering an additional 2% across-the-board increase to the existing franchise fee rates and an expansion of the allowable uses for the revenue derived from the franchise fees collected. The 2% increase in fees is estimated to generate an additional $290,000 of revenue and bring the annual revenue of gas and electric franchise fees to $685,000. The additional revenue would be used in a manner acceptable to the City Council through the currently approved revenue purpose statement or an amended version of that document. Initial discussions with the City Council during study sessions indicate a desire to use the revenue to offset the impact associated with the recently approved property tax reform legislation by the Iowa Legislature, SF 295, and to pay for costs to provide public safety services within the community. The increase in the fees can be accomplished through an amendment to the franchise agreements with Mid-American Energy Company, and procedurally, the City Council is required to hold a public hearing to accept comments from the public on the proposed franchise amendment. And so that public hearing was held last week, and so we won't be doing that. There is hereby imposed, then the wording is in there as to what the new ordinance change would look like. So anyhow, do we have a motion to approve this ordinance change?
So moved. Second.
Okay, discussion.
I do have a question. Mike, can you tell me how often by rule or whatever that we can change this either up or down? Is there a period of time?
Yeah, within, Mayor Council, within the existing ordinance or the agreement with Mid-American Energy, it's once every 2 years.
Once every 2 years. Okay, thank you.
So if we make enough cuts in other places, then we don't need to have this money, then in 2 years we can bring it back down. Is that what?
Yeah, but I would also say that you could use the additional funds to complete more road projects too. And that's what the City Council has been doing with the existing franchise fee.
But after 24 months, if we determine there's not a need for this, we can reduce the fee.
You could reduce it to whatever, you could put it to 0 if you wanted to.
Or we could wait and do it. There's a new wrinkle because Mid-America promised rate increases, and they have done it now, from what I understand. So our current rate percentage is going to generate some more income. I have not figured out how much more income, but the bills are going to, the utility bills are going to be higher. So the percentage of this fee, as it is going to generate more revenue for Oskaloosa.
Without raising it, you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we know what those rates have been raised to, or?
I can't recall what they are right now. Those had been proposed a couple of years ago when this was first being discussed, and that was brought up by the one person who objected to the fees going up last time. And I can attest that our revenue projections have lagged behind what we expected because the rate increases didn't go into effect. I think there was a 1 or 2% every year for the next couple of years, if I remember correctly. But I am not the expert on that, and they could have changed their case at the Corporation Commission, so I can't tell you for sure. But I'll research it and send out an email.
Yeah, if we could, well, assuming there is a third reading, but if there is a third reading, could we have some estimate of what that amount would be by then?
Yeah, I can get you that information.
Thank you.
Why would there not be a third reading?
It doesn't pass. I don't want to assume until we vote.
Yeah, I'm with Tom on this. I think we need to be looking at what we can cut and figure out what we need before we go raising taxes on this. That rate increase came through. We need to see what we're doing first. And we're also, the second part to this is we're changing the franchise agreement so we can use it in other places. I keep coming back to the why on this. This became an issue as soon as the why came up. So if we're trying to stop the backfill, why are we raising taxes to turn around and spend the money as soon as we get it? So I think the best thing here to do this is to cut first and then figure out what we need and then go from there.
Well, I think it gave us an opportunity to spend it on the why, but I don't know that there's been any discussion that says that we are.
Yeah, I want to make sure.
It certainly hasn't, but we're changing. I mean, the second part 2 of this, and I'll wait for that discussion there. But I'm just throwing that out there now, that we're already planning to spend the money somewhere else that we're raising here.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Van Zetten?
No.
Versteeg?
Yes.
Walling?
No.
Yates?
Yes.
Caligiuri?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Going on to item F. This is considering the ordinance amending the city's natural gas franchise agreement with Mid-American Energy, increasing the existing natural gas franchise fees by an additional 2% of the company's gross revenues for all service classes, and amending the city's revenue purpose statement for the use of franchise fee revenue. The second reading and the description is pretty much the same as what we were doing for electrical rates. Do you have a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion?
So this is the second part, correct?
Second reading?
The second part of this where we can now, this is just the gas?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not saying how we're spending it or anything.
Well, I think it does, doesn't it? It's revenue purpose statement.
Same as electric.
Yeah, it says how we're going to spend it. And I don't see anything that we can spend it for anything like a YMCA.
I didn't say that.
I don't see that.
Well, that's what I'm trying to clarify. Is that what this is changing? Because at one point we talked about using part of this money as the YMCA. Can we use part of this money for economic development? Whether it's the Y or not, take the Y out.
Yeah, we've got multiple discussions going on. At the last council meeting, the public hearing was held for the purpose of receiving comments on the increase and the revenue purpose statement. So there are two items there. The council then approved the first reading to raise the franchise fees, and then U.S. Council approved a resolution adopting the revenue purpose statement. So that's done.
That's a done deal.
You've already expanded the potential use or the use of those funds. But like we've talked about every time we bring up this issue, the expenditure of those funds are brought to you either through a budget item or through the budgeting process, and then you provide direction from there.
So changing that was only required 1 vote, didn't require 3?
Correct.
And we can now, as of that last meeting, use those funds for economic development. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further comments? Roll call, please.
Moore?
Yes.
Van Zetten?
No.
Versteeg?
Yes.
Walling?
No.
Yates?
Yes.
Caligiuri?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item G, consider an ordinance amending ordinances number 576, 1064, and 1106 providing that general property tax is levied and collected each year on all property located within the amended Oskaloosa urban renewal area in the city of Oskaloosa, county of Mahaska, state of Iowa, by and for the benefit of the state of Iowa, city of Oskaloosa, county of Mahaska, Oskaloosa Community School District, and other taxing districts, be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to, and indebtedness, including bonds issued or to be issued incurred by the city in connection with the amended Oskaloosa urban renewal area. That was amendment number 1 to the Oskaloosa amended and restated urban renewal plan. Second reading of this. So if the city council has approved the resolution amending the existing urban renewal area, the ordinance change provides the necessary code amendments to collect tax increment revenues from the entire amendment number 1 area to amended and restated area. And we did approve that resolution last meeting. The city must make its request for tax increment revenue to the county on or before December 1st of each year. The incremental taxes are collected during the following fiscal year and are distributed by the county with the regular collection of tax receipts during that year. For an amendment that adds property, passage of the ordinance included with this item freezes that property valuation based for determining incremental tax revenue at the level existing on January 1st of the calendar year preceding the effective date of the ordinance. The date when the city next certifies to the county for tax increment reimbursement starts the clock for certain amendments that have a limit on the number of years that a tax increment can be collected. So do we have a motion for approval on the second reading? Okay, any discussion? Roll call.
Van Zetten,
Yes.
Versteeg,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Caligiuri,
Yes.
Jimenez,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Getting close to the end here. Reports from city staff. City manager, anything?
Mayor and Council, as I passed along a note to you last week, we've had some difficulties in the recruitment process for the wastewater superintendent position, and some things changed for us. So we're back to the drawing board on that, and I suggested a couple of dates for a study session, and I'm just curious if everyone can make the 8th, or if you'd rather wait until the 15th to have that conversation about next steps.
What was everybody's thought about bringing in the water board for part of that conversation?
It is the 8th. Yep. That's next Monday.
When?
It's a week from yesterday.
Checking the date first, Jason. I'm not ignoring what you said. For some reason, I missed all that email.
15th, Monday.
Monday.
Is that when you want to do it, Michael, the 15th?
I'm open to do it whenever.
We need to do it as soon as possible.
Yes, we do.
So you suggested the
The
8th?
8th?
I suggested a Monday.
What about next Monday? Is it Monday?
That is next
Oh,
Monday.
that is?
I won't be here.
On the 8th?
Works for me.
I'll be out of state.
Okay.
You around, Doug?
Yep, works for me.
The 15th?
Everybody else?
8th.
8th.
Okay, 8th.
Okay.
Just Joe.
Sounds like the 8th is it.
At what time, Mike?
5:15 would be
Okay.
my proposed time.
Oh, it's going to be open now.
Well, Jason, with your comment, then, do you feel that they're ready to have that conversation?
I think we have to get back to the table and start bringing them back in. I mean, we're raising the franchise fee. They're raising rates. We've got to do whatever we can to save money here, and there's an opportunity through PFM, through shared services, that we might be able to save money. And I think not putting that option at least on the table to look at it, we got to start somewhere. And I think that we're going to leave money on the table here if we don't look at seeing if there's a possibility of something that we could do together here.
Okay.
And I think now is the right time to do that.
Does the water board have enough information to be able to speak at that meeting between now and 6 days from now?
I'm not saying that they need to make any decisions. I think that they'll need to step it up and take a look at a few options, but I think they need to be thinking the same thing. I mean, I'm curious to see what they have to say, to be honest with you, at this point. I mean, maybe they don't want to do anything. That would certainly be interesting to me to hear them say, no, we're just going to continue to raise rates and not try to save money.
Well, the interesting part we find out, because we know it's going to cost us more. So if you join it together, will it save money? If it's going to cost them more too, if they look at it individually, then that's not going to look good for anybody. So it'd be interesting to find out what it looks like from them if they had both. I mean, to me, that would be the next step of information that we don't have. But to get there is, I think we're on a route to maybe get there, but it's going to be a while. But we've got to get wastewater taken care of. They've been on their own for a long time now, and that's not right. So we got to do something.
You're awful quiet, Michael.
How much information?
All I was asking was the meeting time. Just, again, it's not posted as a discussion item. I just need to know if that
We can
time will
discuss
work.
that on the 8th.
That's generally how it works.
Moving right along, man.
Well, I certainly think we should invite them. I agree with Jason on that.
Let's see what they have to say.
See what they have to say.
The wastewater department.
The water department.
The water department.
Okay, so they would probably be there more in a listening mode than they would be actually trying to be decisive on something.
I wouldn't want to force them into anything. I would want to have a clear line of open communication with them, and we have to start at some point. And if they have some idea of what's going on with sewer and wastewater, it only makes sense that we bring them into this.
Okay. Any other opinions?
Go from water, would you want all the employees or just?
No. This isn't an employee thing. This is the board.
Oh, okay. What board? I thought I heard you say employees.
No, the board members.
Well, they don't have a full board. Can they vote?
Sure. Oh, sure.
Two. Okay.
Yeah, but to answer your question though, usually we have all the employees show up as well. Not by invitation, but they do.
Yeah.
So,
It's an open meeting. Anybody can show up.
yeah. Okay. Sounds like nobody's opposed to having the board there, is that right? Okay. Does that give you what you need, Mike?
Sure does, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. City clerk, anything?
No, sir.
Okay. City attorney, anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Moving on, Joe, anything?
Not at this time.
Okay, Karen? Sally?
Nothing.
Tom?
Nothing, sir.
Doug?
Nothing, sir.
Tom?
South 11 pavement, is that starting this week from the south? Did I read that wrong?
It was, we expected it to start.
They did some saw cuts last week, but they started today. I know that they were doing more saw cuts to remove the concrete work.
Okay. Thank you.
They say anything? Okay. I guess I don't have anything to add. With that, do we have a motion for adjournment?
Move.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
I did not get that invitation.
That's going to be their main focus. And